Inaasahan na mas lalong dadami ang modules na parang never-ending teleserye. May Season 2, 3, at 4.
Ngayong reporting.
Teachers daw ay magle-lesson habang nagre-record, nagre-research, at nag-aayos ng printer. Multitasking level, superhero.
Ngayong reporting. Sa ibang bansa, may AI teachers na. Pero sa Pilipinas, struggle pa rin mag-connect sa Zoom. Ngayong reporting.
DepEd maglalabas ulit ng bagong curriculum. Pero warning, may kasunod ulit na revision sa susunod na taon.
Ngayong reporting. Ngayong reporting, students will master time management not by studying early, but by submitting at 11:59 p.m. sharp. Ngayong reporting.
Ayan ang mga hula at balita sa mundo ng edukasyon. Sa tingin nyo, mangyayari kaya ang mga iyan?
Text story 14.
Maayong adlaw. So as you can see, I'm Adiwata for today. So maayong buntag once again, and today we'll be talking about something that lies in the heart of education, and that is the curriculum. Basically, this is a dynamic tool for learning that continuously evolves to meet the needs of our learners and our society as a whole. So specifically, the purpose of our presentation is to really explore the current trends and issues in curriculum development, both globally and here in the Philippines. So through this, we really aim to understand how different educational systems really respond to the changes, and how we, as of course future educators or educators in the making, can really help make the curriculum more relevant, more inclusive, and future ready. So, what are we waiting for? Let's start our discussion. So first, let's talk about what is global curriculum. So basically, to put it simply, the global curriculum, this really refers to the educational standards or framework nga kanang use across different countries in the world. So basically, this is primarily designed to really set a common learning goals and skills for our students worldwide, right? So now let's proceed to the global curriculum trends. Unsa man ni ang mga uso karon sa ato ang curriculum worldwide, because when we talk about global curriculum trends, we are really referring to the educational standards, of course, as I've mentioned a while ago, that aim to set a common learning goals para sa ato ang mga estudyante across the different countries in the world. So of course, kaning mga trends, this really helps our learners, or our students, to really develop the skills, the competencies that are globally recognized, while of course respecting the local culture and the context, of course, na diin sila gikan. So that is the aim of our global curriculum trends. So there are major trends in our global curriculum nowadays. So let's start with the curriculum internationalization. Next slide, please. So in addition to this, ang atuang curriculum internationalization, they also kanang encourages our educators to really embed global issues and cross-cultural awareness at sa mga subject area nga ilang gihandle. So ang pasabot ani nga this means nga kanang they must expose our students to the different cultures worldwide, and as well as the global challenges nga giatubang sa ato ang kalibutan karon in order for them to really develop students global competence. So unsa man ni ang global competence? Sure, so laktod pang pagkastorya mao ni ang mga abilidad nga sa ato ang mga estudyante to understand and to appreciate other cultures as well as others' behaviors while also maintaining their own identity. So mao na ang global competence. So let's say for example, the vocational education and training or the VET curriculum. So these are common in the countries like the Austria, the Denmark, the Finland, and as well as the Netherlands and many more countries. So basically no kanang kani nga program or nga kani nga curriculum kay ang ato ang mga estudyante kay they take a unit called the working in an international work environment. So here they will learn to navigate cultural differences as well as workplace diversity, and also this sometimes includes the international professional standards. This is for the teachers, no, their goal in here is to really produce learners who can communicate across cultures and adapt to different environments and as well as compete internationally, all while of course staying grounded, no, staying rooted into their own values and identity. And that is an example of the curriculum internationalization. Alright, so next here in our slide is the second trend, which is the 21st century skills. So this trend is all about preparing students for a fast-changing, interconnected world in order for them not to really survive and to succeed in the modern world, because of course we are in the 21st century world now, so we really need 21st century skills. So instead of just memorizing facts, our students really learn to analyze, to create, and as well as to collaborate with each other, no, in order to really give out the best of them. So we have your first the learning skills, no, which is this is the skills that really helps our students to think, to create, and as well as to really work effectively. So this is composed of the forces of if you are familiar, no, we had already discussed this in some of our courses from the last academic year. So we have here the communication, of course, sharing of ideas. Next is the collaboration, of course, working with each other, working well with each other. Next is the creativity, third C, which is of course thinking outside the box. And lastly is the critical thinking, which of course is analyzing and evaluating information to really make reasonable decisions, right? So the second skills is the literacy skills. So these skills really helps our students to access, understand, and use information effectively. So this is composed of basically three literacy, no? So first, which is the information literacy. So this finds, evaluates, as well as use the information he had find wisely, no? So wisely using the information. Next is the media literacy. So these skills really aims for our students to have understanding as well as to be able to really interpret the messages from the different media sources. So basically, no, di lang kanang understand or mo interpret and also use responsibly our media today. And last is the technology literacy. So this is using, of course, the digital tools nga available efficiently, no, for learning as well as for problem solving, right? And now let's move forward to the third, which is the life skills. So basically, these are the practical skills nga makatabang sa ato mga students in order for them to manage their life, their work, as well as their relationship, of course, successfully. So this is composed of the flips. First is the flexibility, of course, the adaptability of our students. Next is the leadership, because of course one will be able to guide as well as to motivate others effectively in the working environment. The third one is the I, which is the initiative, of course, taking charge and starting the project independently. Next is the P for productivity. Of course, one could be able to manage time and resources efficiently. And lastly, the social skills, which is of course interacting positively and collaborating with others. So basically, the flips really aims for one to be able to navigate and explore the new Right? No, so an example of the 21st century skills in actualization is the India's National Education Policy, or the NEP of the 2020. So of course, no, this shifted the kanang curriculum from, of course, route learning, route memorization, to competency-based and project-oriented education. So gina-emphasize gid diri no nga kanang ang critical thinking, ang problem solving, as well as ang teamwork sa ato ang mga students. Kay of course, these are the skills nga needed na karon nga panahon. Is in the next slide, which is the digital and hybrid learning models. So basically, no, gi-highlight ani ang pag-use sa technology and flexible online platforms, of course, in order to make the education more accessible anytime and anywhere. So of course, during the pandemic, no, we experienced this firsthand because the shift between the face-to-face to the online platforms like ato ang mga nakailata ni Google Classroom, ni Zoom, and as well as the Microsoft PowerPoint, like Microsoft Word, and everything in the online platform nga ato ang gina-use today. So of course, that is an example of the digital learning. Kung unsa ang ato ang mga lessons, ato ang mga activities, as well as ang ato ang communication kay really happens online. Right? What that is the digital learning. On the other hand, kaning hybrid learning models kay mo ni siya ang combination. Combination ni siya both sa online o sa face-to-face classes. Of course, nagahatag ni siya og kanang more opportunities and kanang more chances ato ang mga students, no, kanang for a flexible nga kanang pamaagi sa pag kanang klase or pag-eskwela. So basically, no, we had experienced this personally, no, in, of course, our very own Cebu Normal University, katong nag 75 face-to-face and nag 25% online class ta. So that is an example of the hybrid learning. So ang goal lagi ni digital ug hybrid learning, no, is to make learning more inclusive, more personalized, as well as more adaptive and flexible in a different situation. Especially now, no, nga digital literacy is a must in education. Right, so one of the leading examples, no, of the STEAM education, is the South Korea's convergence education. So this was created around 2020. So this integrates the science, the engineering, the math, as well as the arts in one curriculum. So of course, this was created by the Ministry of Education. And then by the year around 2023, there were over 300 STEAM pioneer schools already in South Korea, right? So that is the STEM education. And the other list in our global curriculum trends will be discussed by our next reporter, which is Mr. Harnett.
Good day, everyone. I am Harnett John Amtampla, and today I will continue the discussion of Sarah Lane Degaran about global curriculum trends. So I will discuss first the what is global cooperation networks. Okay? Global cooperation networks are mechanisms of partnership between students, teachers, institutions, and organizations from parts of the globe to achieve shared goals. These networks can exist in a variety of fields, including scientific research, sustainable development, public health, and judicial assistance, allowing for the flow of knowledge, resources, and skills to handle complex global concerns. However, in the educational curriculum context, it is the partnership between educational institutions, mostly by region, to reach their shared goals of educational cooperation, human resource development, inclusivity, and identity. So, we have examples here. Alright? Actually, we have two examples. Okay, the Bologna process from Europe and ASEAN University Network, or AUN, that promote comparability, transparency, and quality assurance in education systems. Okay, let's first explain what is the Bologna process. Okay, the Bologna process strives to improve coherence in higher education systems across Europe. It established the European higher education area to improve student and staff mobility, make higher education more accessible and inclusive, and make higher education in Europe more appealing and competitive on a global scale. Meanwhile, the AUN was established in 1995 to answer the Southeast Asia region's need to quickly develop a regional identity and solidarity, as well as promote the development of ASEAN talents by promoting a platform for collaboration among the region's best higher educational institutions. So now let's discuss about the next global curriculum trend, which is inclusive education. So what is inclusive education? Okay, learners with special needs and marginalized groups are given an equal opportunity for education. So that is inclusive education. So it is derived from the fundamental right of all people, regardless of background, status, capability, and identity, to have free and public education. Alright, so we have an example here. An example here is the Individualized Education Programs, or IEPs, mandated by the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or IDEA, which is the law in the United States, by the way, that ensures free public education for special needs in the least restrictive environment. So, do you know that the US is the first country to legalize the right of students with disabilities to free education? So, what is an IEP, by the way? Okay, we already have discussed this in our Foundations of Special and Inclusive Education with Mr. Cuñado, Dr. Cuñado rather. But, just to recap, an IEP is a legally enforceable written plan for a disabled student that outlines their specific educational goals, their accommodations, and support services to ensure their academic success. It is developed by a team of educators, parents, and students, as well as the community, and it is an essential component of special education, assuring a free, appropriate public education for eligible children. And now, let's proceed to the next global curriculum trend, and I believe this is the last already, which is personalized learning. So, what is personalized learning? So, personalized learning is constructing a curriculum that is anchored on learner-centered approaches. So, learner-centered, it is where in the classroom, the students are the active constructors of learning. They are the active sources of learning. The teacher merely facilitates the process of teaching and learning. So, in other words, students teach themselves to learn. They are the providers of sources and they learn from it, right? So, it is different from teacher-centered approaches, wherein the teacher emphasizes rote memorization and only the information comes from the teacher and no inputs are coming from the students. And that is the global curriculum trend now. Personalized learning and learner-centered approach, which is where it is derived. Okay, so we have two examples here. Okay, the first example rather is the online platforms such as Khan Academy and Coursera, which use AI and adaptive learning to personalize instruction. So let's discuss about Khan Academy first. So Khan Academy gives students the freedom to study at their own pace, both inside and outside of the classroom, with practice questions, educational videos, and a customized learning dashboard. Okay, in order to give students the solid foundations they need to thrive in both higher education and the workplace. Also, to do that, Khan Academy places a significant emphasis on skill mastery. Similarly, Coursera provides courses from prestigious colleges with customizable components that let students modify their study plans according to their interests and professional objectives. Coursera assists users in identifying skill gaps and offers personalized recommendations by leveraging data analytics within its platform. Wow, that is personalized learning. And now the other one is micro credentials. Micro credentials offered by universities such as Harvard through Harvard Extension School that provide digital certificates for upskilling and reskilling. So, according to Huggy in 2020, micro credentials are short learning activities or professional development experiences that can often be combined to form a tower of knowledge or skill. It is a personalized learning. Why? Well, because since it allows students to choose topics according to their own interest. Wow. And aside from that, it is flexible and it can be given in as a modular learning. So that's it. Those are personalized learning, and in fact, micro credentials, they are certificates, right? Remember when Dr. Pacania also encouraged us to enroll in these micro credentials so that we can have skills to adapt to the modern world, right? So as an emo, I am adapting to the modern world. I am emoing. Yeah, I am practicing pop culture. So that's an example of that, And that's it for Global Curriculum Trends. Thank you for listening, and let's proceed to the next presenters, which is, I think it's a Philippine curriculum, okay? So, see you later.
So, since we are done talking about the global curriculum trend, it is also important to look into the trends in our own country, specifically the trends shaping curriculum and Philippine education. Understanding these trends help us see where our education system is heading, what improvements are being made, and how these changes affect teachers, learners, and the overall learning experience. So to start, let's look at three major curriculum reforms that have been driving change in Philippine education from 2013 to the present. So we have here in our screen the three major Philippine curriculum reforms. So we'll be talking about it shortly, as in the following slides we will have an in-depth discussion about it. So first we have the K-12 Basic Education Program, which was implemented in 2013, and then the revised Senior High School SHS curriculum, which rollout began in 2024-2025, and then lastly, the most current trend in the Philippine curriculum right now is the Matatag curriculum, which was launched in 2023 and rollout started in school year 2024-2025. Now that we have looked back at the major curriculum reforms in recent years, you might be thinking, okay, but what's actually happening in our classrooms today? Well, wonder no more, because this brings us to the current trends shaping Philippine education right now. So to start, let's talk about one of the most influential trends, and that is outcome-based education, or OBE. So outcome-based education actually guides the Philippine curriculum and the current trend that we're going to discuss later on. So it is like the root of all the trends in the Philippine educational system, as our Philippine curriculum is highly influenced by it. So it focuses on the knowledge, skills, and values that learners are expected to achieve. So it is a unique educational methodology that specifies particular learning outcomes, and its core concept is start with the end in mind. So it focuses on learning outcomes, guides curriculum reforms, and highly support competency-oriented learning. So it is applied mainly in colleges and universities, especially in teacher education. And it remains highly relevant in 2025 as both DepEd and CHED continue to promote competency-based, learner-centered education. So the Matatag curriculum and the Philippine Qualifications Framework are concrete signs of the country's continuing move toward outcomes and competencies rather than content coverage, which is highly based on outcome-based education, or the OBE. After understanding OBE as the backbone of many reforms, the next trend naturally follows, and this is the government's biggest move to simplify and strengthen learning, which is the Matatag curriculum, which is making its wave right now in the educational system, specifically in the Philippines. So, it is a newly designed educational framework in the Philippines to enhance student achievement and address critical educational issues. So it was rolled out in 2024-2025. So its core concept is to decongest the curriculum, since we all know the curriculum is very congested here in the Philippines. So the Matatag curriculum reduces learning competencies from over 11,000 to around 3,000. So according to DepEd, they cut about 70% of the previous competencies, so lessons are more focused on what's most essential. I'm focusing on five essential competencies. So we have language, reading and literacy, mathematics, makabansa, good manners, and right conduct, or the GMRC. The next core concept is focus and mastery. So instead of memorizing too many topics, learners are encouraged to master key skills and apply their learning in real situations. And lastly, we have strengthened literacy and numeracy. So there is a strong emphasis on reading, writing, and mathematical understanding, especially in their early grades, to build a solid foundation for future learning. So DepEd's Quality Basic Education Development Plan 2025-2035 highlights curriculum upgrading, modernized assessments, and more digitally enabled schools. So now let's have another trend here in the Philippine educational system, which is the strengthening of senior high school HSS curriculum. So this aims to update the senior high school program that focuses on essential learning and better career preparation. So the goal is to make students more employable, skilled, and ready for college, work, or entrepreneurship. So we have here its three core concepts. First is the reduction of SHS core subjects to essential 5. So we have only the effective communication, life skills, general mathematics, science, at pag-aaral ng kasaysayan at lipunang Pilipino. So now it focuses only on 5 core subjects to avoid overload and strengthen foundational skills. So its purpose is to streamline learning and give students mastery and not memorization. So next is the strengthened work immersion, so more immersion hours. So it increased from 80 up to 640 hours in some program. So students spend more time in real workplaces related to their chosen tracks. And then lastly, we have the industry-aligned specialization tracks. So tracks are revised so competencies match the needs of the industry and labor market. So we have the STEM, HUMS, ABM, GAS, TVL, Arts and Design, or Sport. So this ensures that senior high school graduates have relevant and employable skills. So now let's talk about another important trend here in the Philippine curriculum, and that is the emphasis on 21st century skills. So now the Philippine curriculum focuses on developing skills students need to succeed in modern society and not just academic knowledge. So the skills help learners think critically, solve problems, and adapt to a fast-changing world. And what you are now seeing in our screen are just some of those skills that students must acquire. So why this is a key curriculum trend? Because the world work is changing fast. And of course, employers need skills and not just knowledge. So technology also is becoming central to learning. That is why students need to be globally competitive. So the Philippine curriculum now prioritizes 21st century skills that prepare students to think critically, collaborate, communicate, and use technology effectively, making them ready for modern careers and a globalized world. So now we are going to talk about the fifth trend, which I believe is very evident here in our country, and that is digitalization of learning, or the EdTech integration. So the Philippine curriculum is increasingly integrating technology in teaching and learning to make education more flexible, interactive, and accessible, especially after the COVID-19 pandemic. So the shift now was very evident after the pandemic, or even during the pandemic. So we have the use of learning management systems, so application or platforms like Google Class, Microsoft Teams, Google Docs. So those are used to deliver lessons, assignments, and assessments online. So it helps teachers track student progress daily, and also it helps students not to access learning materials anytime and anywhere. So we have also the digital modules or blended learning, just like what we are doing right now. I'm recording a video, online content and pass this in the G class. So it promotes self-paced learning and personalized instruction. Also, we have the online assessment. So tasks, quizzes, and projects can now be submitted online. It enables faster grading and feedback, and also encourages digital literacy in students, which is in connection with the previous trend that a key skill that students must acquire. So of course, with this current trend comes issue, and one of those is the digital divide issue. So because of this, the government is trying, of course, to have teachers be trained in ICT. So teacher training in ICT, and of course DepEd computerization program, where they provide technology to some schools. Sadly, some schools dili pa gid all. Hopefully in the future, everyone will be given of course easy access to technology. So now let's have our next reporter, Ms. Dinopo, to share more about the Philippine curriculum trends.
As you can see on the slide, one of the biggest trends in Philippine higher education is internalization. This includes global partnerships through research, student exchange, and joint academic programs. So basically, our universities are reaching out and connecting with schools and institutions abroad. Why is this important? It is because it enhances the quality of education and improves the global reputation of our graduates. It's not just about learning locally, it's about preparing Filipino students to compete and collaborate on the world stage. For example, UP and De La Salle University recently signed a 5-year cooperation agreement to work together on research and social engagement. Meanwhile, Ateneo partners with Singapore Polytechnic and the Blueprint Project, where students co-create innovation projects across countries. These international partnerships also affect curriculum design. Universities must align their programs with global standards, which means senior high school and even basic education now need to compete students with skills to thrive globally. Moving on, the next trend is STEAM integration, which combines science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. This approach encourages both logical and creative thinking, helping students solve problems in innovative ways. Notice on the slide that STEAM focuses on real-world, community-based learning. In the Philippines, schools often use local materials like bamboo, recycled plastics, and crafts instead of expensive equipment. A good example is the CI-STEM project, a collaboration between UP College of Education and Unilab Foundation, which helps schools implement STEAM projects using these materials. So as future teachers in the making, we should remember that we need to connect STEAM concepts to our students' local realities. In doing so, it makes lesson more engaging, meaningful, and fosters creativity. And this is very true, especially in our field of expertise, social studies. For example, we can integrate STEAM by designing lessons where students investigate local history, culture, or community issues using problem solving and creative thinking. They might create maps also, models, or data visualizations for their community, or design small projects that show how local practices relate to science, technology, or economics. By linking abstract concepts to students' own experiences and surroundings, we not only teach content but also build critical thinking, collaboration, and civic awareness. Having this approach, I believe that this ensures that our future social studies lessons are interactive, relevant, and of course connected to real-world contexts while still developing 21st century skills. Next, we look at CHED's role in internalization. As a national agency for higher education, CHED creates policies that support global partnerships and encourages universities to collaborate internationally. One program is COIL, or Collaborative Online International Learning, where classrooms from different countries participate in joint virtual sessions. For example, Marinduque State University joined CHED's COIL network to collaborate with international institutions. Same goes with the Cordillera Nexus initiative. They also brings together state universities in the region to build global synergy through research and exchanges. This only shows that Philippine curricula are aligning with global competencies, which means students at basic and senior high school must not be prepared for digital literacy, cross-cultural communication, and global collaboration. Finally, the slides summarizes the key implications of all these trends. First, there is a need for pipeline alignment. Basic education, senior high, and higher education must work together so students can progress smoothly into globally competitive programs. Second, teachers need training in STEAM, digital skills, and global competencies to support these alignments. Third, teaching should be contextualized using local resources. As we've all known, many schools lack expensive tools, so using local and low-cost materials is both practical and effective. At the same time, there are challenges. Gaps in implementations, limited resources, and balancing global standards with local relevance. As future educators, our responsibility is to adapt the curriculum to our learners' realities while still preparing them to confidently operate on the global stage.
Okay, this is Arnold again, and I'm back. Cause tonight will be the night that I will fall for you. Okay, joke only. But, kidding aside, I, together with JP, will discuss about current issues in curriculum development, both global and local. So, before we discuss this thing, let's highlight this one phrase here. Curriculum development. What is curriculum development, by the way? So, let's proceed. So, it is defined as the process of selecting, organizing, executing, and evaluating learning experiences on the basis of needs, abilities, and interests of learners and the nature of society and community. So, it is derived from learner-centered approach. We need to develop curriculum constantly because we need to adapt to the dynamic nature of this world, right? Let's refer to our history, from primitive tools to advanced tools, right? And from absence of rights to the creation of rights, to the recognition of rights, rather. The mindset, the knowledge and skills of people are ever changing. It affects differently across a great deal of people. They are different in manifestations according to status, according to conditions, according to area, geographical area. So, the curriculum development must assess that, must take into account that there are many factors that are affecting us. And the curriculum development must be responsive to students' needs, because they are the main stakeholders, and the students are the future of this world. And if students are not aware of what is happening in this world, they cannot adapt, and this world will be in standstill, or it will go downhill. So that's how curriculum development is important, to tailor the needs of students, to prepare students to the ever-changing world. They will be the laborers. They will be the leaders. And they must respond. They must open eyes to everything. They cannot do that without curriculum development. Right? So we have different kinds of current issues in curriculum development. There are global issues, and then there are local issues. I am assigned in discussing global issues, while JP will discuss to you local issues thereafter. So let's proceed to global issues. We have 5 here, and I believe there are many of these global issues. There are much more of these global issues, but I will just highlight 5 global issues. Excuse you. Well, we have first resource limitations and a lack of funding for internationalization. This is especially true in less developed countries, as indicated by the research conducted by Mushtari and Safarpur in 2023. They found out that among the challenges faced by educational institutions is the lack of funding for internationalization. This is due to many factors, such as a lack of attention. So, they simply do not prioritize internationalization. They do not simply realize the importance of internationalization in the process of curriculum development. So that's the first problem. Second one is resistance to change among educators. In the research of Snyder in 2017, reasons were discovered as to why veteran teachers resist change in the context of adaptation to the K-12 curriculum. So first is the fear of changing relationships with their students. So they are afraid in breaking their lasting, impactful, and positive relationships with their students. Curriculum development entails a different environment for students and teachers, and they are anxious about that. Second is the fear of relegation or reduction of their autonomy. They feel that their skills and experiences are undervalued. So, teachers may feel that their experiences, their skills, and knowledge that has accumulated for so many years has become irrelevant and not useless to the needs of students. So those are the 2 reasons why teachers might resist change when curriculum development is implemented. Now, the third one is inequality of access due to location and technology gaps. Do you know that over 2.6 billion, roughly 33% of the world's population, remain offline? According to a 2025 report by the International Telecommunication Union, it is driven by a lack of accessibility, problem with affordability, and undeveloped digital literacy. So, this is why curriculum development is important. And also the role of government in this endeavor. The government must partner with telecommunication companies and other organizations relevant to internet connectivity and telecommunications and also communications to build infrastructures to improve telecommunications and internet connectivity, such as signal towers, cell towers. And the government must enhance the economic capability of the country to ensure that advanced technologies such as iPads, tablets, cell phones, Wi-Fi are accessible to the populace. And then there is this undeveloped digital literacy. The government must ensure that they have curriculum development implemented because it is the backbone for change. It is the backbone of responding to the ever-changing needs of society. To enhance digital literacy because digital literacy is the norm now. Right? And now we have the fourth one, which is language and cultural barriers in curriculum implementation. Language-related problems such as jargon, lack of proficiency, and regional dialects, as well as cultural-related problems such as differences in classroom norms and understanding of beliefs and values, can hamper translation of global trends of curriculum to local setting. This calls for an emphasis on culturally responsive pedagogy, using simplified language, utilizing visual aids and realia, and lastly, tailoring the curriculum to community needs. And lastly, we have risk of curriculum overload when adding global content without integration. Curricula are overworked and unbalanced in many nations, and over time, new stuff is added without creating any room. The development of fundamental abilities, including literacy, numeracy, and socio-emotional skills, is thus left with insufficient time. Well, in the report by the World Bank in 2023, for at least one academic year following the reopening of schools after the pandemic, only 37% of the 60 countries under investigation had implemented a more targeted curriculum that prioritized core abilities. The example of the country that successfully implemented this is Guyana. Guyana introduced a more targeted national curriculum for grades 1 to 9 in 2021, emphasizing social studies, science, math, and language. Other themes were integrated based on logical links, and redundant content areas were eliminated. So, this initiative by Guyana, how they integrate global curriculum to their locality, to their country, must be emulated by every nation. You cannot just pour and pour and pour information, because there will come a time that it will be overloaded. So we have here the 5 global issues, and I will give JP the floor to discuss the local issues. So JP, take it away.
Good morning, ma'am. Good morning, classmates. This is JP, and today I'll talk about some of the current issues in the curriculum development here in the Philippines. So this issue affect how teachers teach and how students learn. So it is important for us future teachers to understand them clearly. And for that, I will be discussing the 6 main problem and explain to you why they matter. So the first one is we don't have enough teacher training in technology and STEM. So one of the biggest problem is that many teachers are not fully trained in using technology and teaching STEM. So STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. So even if the curriculum asks teachers to use digital tools or do experiments and projects, some teachers may feel that they are not confident or prepared enough. That's why many training programs are short or not continuous. So if teachers are not properly trained, students will not fully learn digital skills or creative problem solving, skills that are very important today. For the second one is we have the lack of technology and resources in rural schools. So many schools, especially in the far-flung and rural areas, do not have enough gadgets, stable internet connections, or even basic equipment. So when the curriculum expects students to use computers, online resources, or multimedia, students in rural schools are left behind simply because they don't have the tools. So this can create a digital divide, meaning a gap between schools that have resources and schools that don't. So many students in rural areas end up with fewer learning opportunities. And for the third one is the difficulty balancing global standards and local identity. So another prevalent issue is finding the balance between the teaching what the world expects and teaching what is unique to the Filipino identity. So the curriculum tries to meet international standards so that a Filipino student can compete globally. But at the same time, it has to include local culture, languages, and experience. So this balance is not easy. Sometimes reforms focus too much on global trends and forget to highlight Filipino values and realities. So students need to learn skills that prepare them for the world, but without losing their identity as a Filipinos. So for the fourth one is the mismatch between assessment and learning goals. So this is also a problem with assessment alignment, meaning tests don't always match what students are supposed to learn. For example, the curriculum may say that students need to learn critical thinking, but the test sometimes only check on like memorization. And because of this, teachers may feel pressured to teach to the test instead of focusing on real understanding. So why this matters? So if assessment are not aligned, teachers and students get confused about what skills truly matter. For the fifth one is we have the overloaded curriculum. So another major issue is that the curriculum is too heavy, meaning there are too many topics and competencies that teachers must cover within a short period of time. And because of this, many teachers rush lessons and students end up memorizing instead of deeply understanding. DepEd has already admitted that the congestion is a problem and is trying to decongest, quote unquote, the curriculum. So when there is too much content, students fail to master essential skills like reading, writing, numeracy, and even critical thinking. For the last one is we have the gap between the policy and the actual implementation. So even if DepEd writes a good policy or curriculum, it doesn't always get implemented well in schools. So some schools lack funding, some lack trained personnel, and others lack clear instructions. So even if the curriculum is good on paper, the actual experience inside the classroom can be very different. So a curriculum is only effective if it can really support it from like budget, teacher training, or to monitoring. So to improve this development in the Philippines, I have come up with some simple but important suggestions. So the first one here is we have to train teachers continuously, not just one-time workshops. Second one is we have to improve our technology access, especially in rural schools. Third is to blend global standards with Filipino culture in lessons and materials. Fourth is the fixed assessment system, so test, measure real understanding, not just memorization. The fifth one is to reduce the curriculum load and focus on the essential skills. And the last one is strengthen implementation by improving funding, support, and monitoring. So all in all, the curriculum in the Philippines faces many challenges, from teacher training to technology, from the assessment to the implementation. But if we can address this issue carefully, we can create a curriculum that is meaningful, balanced, and can truly helpful for all the learners. That's it for my part, and the next reporter will continue the discussion.
Maayong adlaw sa tanon. Today, I will present a comparative analysis of global curriculum trends and how the Philippine curriculum aligns or differs from these developments. My discussion will focus on 7 key curriculum trends found in research, followed by innovations that the Philippines can adapt. Curriculum trend number 1. First, let's look at values education. In Japan, the Zest for Life curriculum is a formal structured approach aimed at developing well-rounded learners who are disciplined, respectful, truthful, and both mentally and physically healthy. Korea also integrates social well-being as an element of its curriculum. In the Philippines, values education is embedded mainly through edukasyon sa pagpapakatao and culturally rooted Filipino traits. However, compared to Japan, our values instruction is less structured and not always explicitly programmed in the curriculum. The insight here is that while Filipinos naturally uphold strong values, countries like Japan strengthen this further through clear, intentional curriculum design. Curriculum trend number 2, 21st century learning. Japan and Korea have shifted toward curricula that emphasizes competence development, creativity, cultural knowledge, and real-world application. Europe and Japan also emphasize using global events as learning anchors. The Philippines, through K-12, is aligned with global 21st century competencies such as communication, collaboration, creativity, and critical thinking. However, our challenge is the gap between the written curriculum and classroom implementation. The insight is that we share the same goals globally, but we need better support for actual classroom practice. Curriculum trend number 3, alignment with globalization. Japan gradually integrates global curriculum trends, while Korea has a strong and well-established global citizenship education or GCE. In the Philippines, globalization is acknowledged. We promote global awareness but always emphasize the preservation of Filipino identity. The insight is that GCE must be strengthened at the classroom level so learners can engage with global issues while remaining rooted in Filipino culture. Curriculum trend number 4, informatics and ICT curriculum. Austria, Norway, and Poland are leaders in ICT curriculum. Austria has a national informatics curriculum for all levels. Norway prioritizes practice before theory in software development. Poland was an early adopter with an informatics curriculum as early as 1985. Meanwhile, the Philippines recognizes the importance of ICT but lacks a systematic, deeply integrated national progression for informatics. The insight is clear. If we want future-ready learners, we need a structured ICT roadmap similar to these global models. Curriculum trend number 5, curriculum vision. In Ghana, Nigeria, and South Africa, curriculum visions are grounded in future skills and national level development priorities. Teachers are expected to align their goals and outcomes to the national vision. The Philippines does have a curriculum vision, but interpretation often varies across teachers and schools. The insight is that clarity and consistent teacher understanding of the curriculum vision are essential to meaningful implementation. Curriculum trend number 6, employability oriented curriculum. Nigeria's curriculum redesign focuses on employability, security, and problem solving. South Africa emphasizes transforming thinking rather than memorization. The Philippines aim for employability through senior high school tracks, but industry alignment is not always consistent. The insight is that stronger partnership between the education sector and industries are needed to ensure that ASHS graduates meet actual workforce implementation. Curriculum trend number 7, inclusive education. Austria promotes inclusive education but struggles with consistency. New Zealand has strong inclusive practices and is closing gaps, especially in Maori learners. Papua New Guinea integrates cultural principles in its IE efforts. In the Philippines, inclusive education policies exist but implementation varies widely. The insight is that inclusion must be strengthened through evidence-based classroom-level strategies. Innovations the Philippines can adapt. To conclude, here are curriculum innovations the Philippines can consider. Japan's structured approach to values education. Competency-based reforms used in Europe and Japan. Korea's strong global citizenship education. Austria, Norway, and Poland's national ICT progression. Clearer and more consistent curriculum vision like in Ghana and South Africa. Stronger industry-linked curriculum similar to Nigeria and South Africa. Inclusive education strategies modeled after New Zealand. These innovations can help us create a curriculum that is globally aligned, culturally grounded, and truly responsive to the needs of Filipino learners. Overall, the Philippine curriculum is moving in the right direction, but we must strengthen implementation, consistency, and modernization. By learning from global trends, we can make our curriculum more future-ready and learner-centered. That would be all. Thank you for listening.
Alright, so to conclude and to summarize our reporting for today, allow me to leave a concluding statement also, that curriculum is always evolving to remain relevant and meaningful anywhere and anytime. So by understanding the trends, the global curriculum trends and the trends in your locality or in your country, we can help shape our learning environments that are inclusive, practical, and of course, future ready. And of course, as future educators or as educators in the making, our role is to not just teach the content, but also to prepare our learners to be adaptable, to be creative, and as well as to be globally competent. Because after all, a well-designed curriculum doesn't just impart knowledge, it also empowers our students to really thrive in a rapidly changing world. And that's it for our reporting for today. Thank you so much and have a good day ahead.